He thought he was leaving home for love, but instead, he walked straight into a nightmare. When 24-year-old Sam Nordquist traveled across state lines to meet the woman he believed was his soulmate, he had no idea he was entering a house of torment. What made 7 people, including that woman, turn his dream into a month-long torture chamber? And why did no one stop it until it was far too late?
A mother, siblings, and close friends in tears, candles lit in his name, chant,
"Justice for Sam!
Justice for Sam!
everyone wanting justice for Sam Nordquist as they process his horrific murder. His mother, too overwhelmed to go on camera, but wanted to share her thoughts.
Mom's supposed to protect her children and I feel like I failed.
911, what is your emergency?
There's something wrapped in plastic out here. I think it's a dead body.
A wide, frozen field in upstate New York. Quiet. Empty. Police lights flash across the snow. Investigators move slowly. Nobody's saying much. Not yet. Wrapped in layers of duct tape and plastic lies a body. It's 24-year-old Sam Nordquist. Reported missing weeks earlier. But what they found here wasn't just a missing person. Sam had been beaten, starved, restrained, and left out in the cold like garbage. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment crime. This was something else. A prolonged, systematic breakdown of a human being. 30 days of control, torture, humiliation. And it ended here, dumped in a snowfield. But how did he get here? Why would anyone allow this to happen? And most importantly, how did a man who walked into a relationship end up walking into his own execution? That's the question that drives this story. One will peel back, piece by piece. This case doesn't start with a crime scene. It starts with trust. A relationship that began online and ended in one of the most disturbing cases detectives had ever seen. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know in the comments, how could something like this happen in a house full of people? Because Sam didn't just disappear. He walked into something that changed everything. And once he stepped inside that house, he never came out. Sam Nordquist was 24 years old. Born and raised in Oakdale, Minnesota, he was known for his kindness and creativity. He had a passion for photography and worked at a home for vulnerable adults, always ready to help those in need. Sam was a transgender man who had recently come out, embracing his identity with courage and hope for the future. In September 2024, Sam connected online with a woman named Precious Arzuaga. Their relationship developed quickly, and by December, Sam decided to travel to New York to meet her in person. He believed he was embarking on a new chapter in his life, filled with love and acceptance. However, after his arrival, communication with his family ceased. Concerned, they reported him missing on February 9, 2025. 4 days later, his body was discovered in a field in Yates County, New York, wrapped in duct tape and plastic. Investigators revealed that Sam had been subjected to ongoing physical abuse between December 2024 and February 2025, leading to his death. 5 individuals, including Precious Arzuaga, were arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Authorities described the case as one of the most horrific crimes they had ever investigated. Sam's story is a stark reminder of the dangers that can arise from online relationships and the importance of vigilance. His family and community continue to seek justice and honor his memory. You can survive hunger. You can endure isolation. You can even convince yourself that pain is temporary, if there's hope on the other side. But what happens when hope is weaponized? When trust is used as bait, and the person who welcomes you into their life, their home, turns it into a prison with no escape? That's what happened to 24-year-old Sam Nordquist. By the time he realized the truth, the doors had locked behind him. And the clock began ticking on a 30-day nightmare. Sam arrived in Rochester, New York, during the second week of December. According to texts recovered from his phone, he was excited, nervous, curious. He had packed light, just a backpack and his camera. The plan was simple: spend time with a woman he had grown close to online. Someone he trusted. Someone who told him he mattered. Her name was Precious Arzuaga. She told Sam she loved him. That she understood him. That she saw him. But the moment he stepped into that house, it stopped being a visit. And it started being a sentence. It began with silence. He wasn't allowed to use his phone. That much was clear right away. Within 24 hours, his family's messages were going unanswered. Within 48, he was already under surveillance. And not long after, Sam was no longer sleeping in a bed. He was sleeping in a dog crate. According to court documents, Sam was kept in captivity inside a motel room first, Patty's Lodge, in Hopewell. Then, later, at a private home. There was no safe place. In the beginning, the abuse seemed chaotic. Loud. Sporadic. But that was the most disturbing part. Because over the following weeks, the chaos began to follow a routine. They organized the abuse. Sam was systematically tortured, morning, noon, and night. Beaten with belts. With sticks. With dog toys. They shoved a broomstick inside him. They used the leg of a table as a weapon. They called it discipline. And when he cried or screamed, they laughed. They called him names. Mocked his identity. Told him he deserved it. Every inch of his humanity, picked apart. By the third week, Sam was no longer eating. Food was denied. Water, restricted. What he was forced to consume instead was urine. Feces. Spit. Tobacco juice. They poured bleach over his body. Let it burn through his skin. All while telling him that he had brought it on himself. The medical examiner would later say that Sam's injuries were layered. Which means they didn't happen all at once. They built up. One blow on top of the next. One infection spreading under the skin while another bruise was forming above it. His ribs, cracked. His spine, damaged. His internal organs, failing. And still, they didn't stop. But this wasn't just the work of one sadist. This was orchestrated. It was collective. Because what detectives discovered next would take this case from cruel to unthinkable. 7 people. 7 adults. All involved. Precious Arzuaga, Sam's online girlfriend. Jennifer Quijano. Patrick Goodwin. Kyle Sage. Emily Motika. Kimberly Sokia. Thomas Eves. Every single one, charged. Second-degree murder. Kidnapping. Conspiracy. Assault. 7 people watched Sam deteriorate, physically, mentally, and not one of them intervened. Some held him down. Others filmed it. One allegedly gave him bleach to drink. And then there were those who just watched. Sat in that house. Heard the screaming. Did nothing. The prosecutor would later describe it as a ritual of dehumanization. Because by the end, Sam wasn't just being tortured, he was being erased. Reduced. Stripped down to a body that could barely function. And when his body finally gave out, they didn't call an ambulance. They didn't alert the authorities. They wrapped his corpse in plastic. Bound it in duct tape. And dumped it in a snow-covered field 50 miles away, like he was garbage. That's how a stranger found him. Wrapped up. Mummified. Left to freeze while his killers slept soundly. But here's where this story gets even darker. Because Sam was not the first victim to be manipulated by Precious Arzuaga. And the evidence uncovered inside that home revealed something more disturbing than anyone expected. A pattern. A trail. And a house full of secrets. Because the core question that still haunts this case isn't just how could this happen. It's how many times has it happened before? And what kind of manipulation does it take to turn an entire group of people into monsters? 7 people. 7 lives. 7 choices that led to the systematic torture and murder of Sam Nordquist. But this wasn't a random act of violence. It was orchestrated, rehearsed, performed. Precious Arzuaga, 38, was the linchpin. She lured Sam from Minnesota under the guise of love. But once he arrived, the facade dropped. Precious wasn't alone. She was part of a group, a collective bound by twisted loyalties and shared depravity. Jennifer Quijano, 30, and Kyle Sage, 33, were close associates. Their roles weren't passive. They actively participated in the abuse, each act more calculated than the last. Patrick Goodwin, 30, and Emily Motika, 19, added to the group's dynamic. Their involvement wasn't peripheral, they were integral to the daily torment Sam endured. Kimberly Sokia, 29, and Thomas Eves, 21, completed the circle. Each had a part to play, each contributed to the sustained cruelty. The group operated with a disturbing synchronicity. They weren't just individuals committing acts of violence, they were a unit, each member reinforcing the other's actions. Children were present during these atrocities. Some were allegedly forced to watch. Others, disturbingly, were coerced into participating. The indictment includes charges of endangering the welfare of a child, highlighting the extent of the group's moral decay. This wasn't just abuse. It was a ritualistic dehumanization. A collective descent into brutality, where empathy was absent, and cruelty was normalized. But why didn't anyone stop it? What was the real reason Sam was kept alive, and tortured? Sam met Arzuaga online in July 2024. What began as a romantic connection quickly devolved into a nightmare. By September, Sam had left Minnesota to be with her in New York, unaware that he was stepping into a trap. Arzuaga's influence over the group was profound. She orchestrated the abuse, directing others to participate in acts of unimaginable cruelty. Her control extended to every aspect of Sam's life, isolating him from his family and the outside world. The group dynamics were complex. Each member played a role in the sustained torture, driven by a mix of fear, loyalty, and perhaps a desire to belong. Children as young as 7 were coerced into participating, a chilling testament to the depth of Arzuaga's manipulation. The abuse was not only physical but psychological, designed to break Sam's spirit and assert dominance. One of the most disturbing aspects of this case is the calculated nature of the abuse. It was not spontaneous but planned, executed with a level of coordination that suggests a deeper, more sinister motive. The group operated with a shared understanding, each act of violence reinforcing their bond and commitment to Arzuaga's twisted vision. Was Sam targeted because of his identity, or was he simply a convenient victim for a group seeking control and power? The answer remains elusive. What is clear is that the abuse was methodical, designed to dehumanize and dominate. Sam's trust was exploited, his kindness turned against him in the most horrific way. And then, after Sam's death, a final message was sent from his phone. A message that raises more questions than answers. Who sent it, and why? Was it an attempt to cover tracks, or a final act of control? The truth remains hidden, waiting to be uncovered. The courtroom was silent as 7 individuals stood before the judge, each facing charges that painted a grim picture of the final days of Sam Nordquist. Among them, Precious Arzuaga, Jennifer Quijano, Kyle Sage, Patrick Goodwin, Emily Motika, Kimberly Sokia, and Thomas Eves. Each pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, kidnapping, and a litany of other charges stemming from the prolonged torture and eventual death of the 24-year-old transgender man from Minnesota. The indictment detailed a harrowing sequence of events. Sam was subjected to relentless physical and psychological abuse over a span of 2 months. The acts committed were not only brutal but orchestrated, involving multiple individuals who participated in or facilitated the torture. In the wake of these revelations, communities across the nation responded with vigils and memorials. In Rochester, a candlelight vigil at Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park drew dozens who mourned Sam's death and called for justice. Similar gatherings occurred in cities like Geneva and Phelps, where supporters held signs and shared memories, ensuring that Sam's voice would not be forgotten. Yet, amidst the mourning, questions persisted. How did such prolonged abuse go unnoticed? Sam had been reported missing in early February, but it wasn't until days later that authorities discovered his body in a field in Yates County. The delay in response has led to scrutiny of the systems in place meant to protect individuals like Sam. Further compounding the tragedy are the backgrounds of some of the accused. Patrick Goodwin had prior convictions for child sexual abuse, while Kyle Sage had a history of grand larceny and distributing pornography to a minor. These past offenses raise concerns about the monitoring and rehabilitation of individuals with criminal histories. As the legal proceedings continue, the community grapples with the broader implications of Sam's death. Advocacy groups emphasize the need for systemic changes to prevent such tragedies, highlighting the vulnerabilities faced by transgender individuals and the importance of timely intervention. In the end, the haunting question remains, in a house full of people, how could Sam die so completely alone? If this story disturbed you, if it moved you, share Sam's name. Talk about him. Because silence is what killed him, and silence will bury the truth. Every name, every face, every moment of their lives matters. The truth is worth fighting for, no matter how painful. Don't let it be forgotten. What do you think really happened in that house? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation alive. The truth needs to be heard. And if this story left you shocked, there's more to come. Next time, we dive into a tragedy that unfolded on what should have been a joyous occasion, a wedding night turned to horror. A transgender bride, brutally stabbed 40 times by her pastor groom, after he discovered her truth. Why did he do it? What led to this unimaginable act of violence? Stay tuned, and subscribe so you don't miss the next heart-wrenching chapter. Like, subscribe to complete our first 1,000 subscribers, and hit the bell if you want more haunting true crime stories from Crime and Tragedy Watch. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.